Hello again, everybody. This is Joseph with a tutorial again. This one is for a Nissan Maxima, and the problem is, let's say your flashes don't work or your turn signals don't work. If you're wondering what the flasher is, there's a flasher unit, like a module almost. When you turn or put the hazard lights on, you hear that clicking noise, that click, 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 click. Flasher unit. It's like a module. That's what gives it that audio clicking sound. The turn signal switch is just that's on the lever, on the signal lever by the steering wheel. They're both by the steering wheel. This one is on top for the hazard, the one that you depress the switch. The other one is the turn signal switch, which is on the side of the steering wheel. That just says I want to either turn left or right. But this one, that's responsible for the hazard lights. So therefore, that clicking sound comes from this. Now, let's follow the schematic. Not easy to follow, believe me. Now, there's a couple of situations, different situations. Let's say you have a problem. You put the hazard switch on the top of the steering wheel. Obviously, both lights should turn on. The right and the left should turn on, in the front and the back of the car. You don't see it. Before we come to speculate what the problem might be, let's analyze the situation. As you see over here, two fuses. Hot in run or start. The other one is, we'll call this F1. Other one is hot at all times, F2. What does that mean, hot at all times? Have you noticed they both have the same amp rating? 10 amps? 10 amps. What does it mean, hot at all times? I don't even have to have the ignition, the key in the ignition switch. I could just go to the steering wheel, open the door of the car, depress the switch for hazard lights with no key, and it'll work, and the lights will come on. No key needed. Hot in run or start obviously means I need a key in the ignition switch in either the run position or the start position. What is the run position? The run position is the one before you crank the starter. So therefore, let's take different sequences here. I put the hazard lights on. I go in the car. I don't put the key on. I put on the hazard switch. How does it work? If you notice the hazard switch over here, hazard switch, this dotted line. This dotted line means one thing. When you move one part of the switch, the contact, right now it's in the off position. In the off position. When you move the switch into the on position, simultaneously you're moving the other part of the switch to the on position also. When this one moves to the right. This is going to the right. This is going to the right. If I'm already in the right, let's say both of them are on. This one on, this one on. When I move them to the off position, this will go to the off position. This will go to the off position. Whatever this does, this does. As you always know, I always call these Siamese twins. This goes in this position. This also goes in this position. They always go together. That's what the dotted line represents. So again, I'm putting on the hazard lights. No key, nothing. Just putting it on. What am I doing? When I'm depressing the switch, I'm activating this switch to the on position here. And we just said, if I'm putting this on the on position, it's ganged together, so this is going to the on position. Fine. We have a fuse. That means current is flowing from the battery through one side of the switch, coming out the other side of the switch. Going here, follow the blue arrow. Going through the switch is in the on position. So we follow the current through the on position. Through here, through this combination flasher unit, which I just described. That gives you the flash and the clicking sound. Now, when that happens, that's only part one of the equation. Remember, we want the hazard lights to be on, right? But also, in the instrument panel in the dashboard, we also want those lights in the instrument panel to tell us the hazard lights are on. And we want the lights outside the car to be on. The parking lights outside the car. Actually the signal lights outside the front and outside the back. Current flows here, fine. It gives it to 12 volts. This needs 12 volts. That's number one. Now, when I followed the schematic, I said, okay, this is an on position. How is the connection? How is current flowing? It took me a few seconds, and then I said, okay, so now current is flowing out from here, from this flasher unit. There might be whatever there is in here, relay, whatever there's in here. I don't know what's in here, but it really doesn't make a difference to me. All I know is once 12 volts goes in here from either F2 or F1, it activates this. Current flows here, no connection here, goes up here, comes back up here, comes back up here. Now remember, the switch is in the on position, so current can flow. Current will flow first. There's two paths that you can take. See the red? And then there's a blue, which turns into red. We're going to follow that one. Okay? So, when we follow that one, path 1, we're going to go here. There's no connection here. We keep on going. No connection here also. The connection is here. We keep on going here. Combination meter, meaning it goes in the instrument panel to tell you as that the lights are on. And then over here, as you can see, the right front turn signal, the right rear turn signal. Those are lit. That's part of the hazard lights. What about the other one? We said there's two paths. So how does the left turn signals turn on? By the other path. We go here, right? There's no connection here. Here, there's a connection. We go here to this. There's a connection here. Tells you in instrument panel, hey, the left one is on also. We go here, left, right, left, rear. So all the lights are on, including the lights, the indicators in your instrument panel telling you all the lights are on. By doing what? By just pressing the hazard switch. Look at all that's involved just to get the hazard switch to get the lights on. So, that's part of that. As you can see, it's a little tricky. Now, that takes care of hot at all times when I just go in the car, turn on the hazard lights. Again, I could turn it on and start in run position, anything, hot at all times. But this includes even when you don't have the key or you're just pressing let's say you have problems with your car. You're stranded on the highway, right? Engine doesn't turn over. But at least I want to put my hazard lights on so that other cars know that I'm on the shoulder or I'm on the side of the road. What do? Engine's not cranking. I can't do run or start. I can't get out of position. So what do? I'm going to put it in. I'm just going to leave it in hot at all times. Just put the hazard lights on with no key, nothing. And this is how it comes about, like that. All you need is B plus from the battery, which you get. You don't need it to go through when the engine is on or off in this position. Again, current flows from out here to here to here. This is an on position. Going here, feeding the rights. Front, rear right, and also the indicator on your instrument panel. The other one is in charge of the left. So let's say the left, you have a problem when you do the hazard lights. You only see the right, but you don't see the left. Okay, you only see this one is going on, this one, and this one. Right, rear, right, front, and right indicator. You don't see these, the left. That means there must be a broken wire from here to here. this is a broken wire. If this would be a broken wire, this would still light. If the brake would be here, these two would still light. Let's say you put the hazard lights on, right, on the shoulder of the road. I only see the left, but I don't see the right coming on. What could be that problem? Has to be open between here and here, because that feeds all of them. If there's a brake over here, this one won't work, but the other two will work. Hazard lights don't work when I put it on this position. What can it be? Could be the fuse. Could be the combination of flasher unit. Could be. But we're going to prove it if it is or not. Now, it could be this switch also, obviously. This switch. But we're going to see. Now, we're going to go to the other position. Forget about hazard lights. We're not depressing the hazard lights. We're putting on the turn signals. Okay? We're driving, cranking engine. We're driving down the highway. We have it in run. Right? We're gonna leave the parking spot, whatever, we're gonna make a left turn. Left turn tells me this middle one right here, when I move the switch, the lever on the steering wheel, indicates a switch. That switch goes in this position for left turn signal, or in this position, right turn signal. And what do you think that does? You guessed it. When you put the turn signal in the switch, and this middle one makes contact with this one, with this to here and here. I'll show you hopefully a little better. Hopefully, when this one makes contact, this one pivots over here. This contact. Now you have the left. So what do you have? We're not dealing with this fuse now. Now we're dealing with this fuse, F1. When F1 is in this position, because we are run or start, we're driving on the highway, right? We're driving. Now remember one thing. The switch or the hazard lights are in off position. They're not on. Therefore, the switch remains in the off position here, and it remains in the off position here. Very important detail. The only time this is on is when you press that switch on the steering wheel. That's when these go on. And this goes on the on position. This goes on the on position. Otherwise, it's in the off position. It's in the off position. We don't need hazard lights. What do we need? We need a turn signal. You can't have both. You can't have the hazard lights and the turn signal at the same time. You can, right? So therefore, current is now flowing through F1, going through the off position. The switch is in the off position, giving it 12 volts. Remember what I said before? You could get the current from here, or you could get the current from here, depending on where you have the switch. So we have 12 volts here. How do I know? From the fuse, from the battery. What happens now? Well, guess what? Currents flows from here. As we said, follow it. But however, in which position is the hazard lights? It's not in the on position. It's in the off position. Right? So therefore, current cannot flow through this hazard switch. It shouldn't, because the hazard lights are not on. Right? Therefore, what is on? Right? We're going to come over here. This one over here is not working. Right? This is in the off. This is in the off switch. This one, instead of going up here where it's open circuit, current is going to flow in this way. This is only when you have a turn signal active. It cannot go up here because this lever is in this position. It does not close the circuit. Why is that? Because the hazard lights are not depressed. That's its main function, hazard switch. Therefore, current cannot flow in an open connection. But current can flow over here. So look what happens now. I want to make a left signal. I go through here. Current flows through here. Goes through here. 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 And here. Sure enough, lets the instrument panel indicator tell you you just signaled for a left, and the left go on. What happens if you want the right? Well, now this middle one goes in this position to the right. Current can now flow, you guessed it, in this. The right, combination right. Rear, front, rear, right. Everything to the right. Because why? You're making a right turn. So, a couple of scenarios here. Hazard lights don't go on. What do we say? It could be the hazard switch. If the hazard switch is not being ganged or turned, I can still have the turn signal switch. Right? What happens if I don't have the turn signal switch and I don't have the hazard switches? Then you would have to come to the conclusion, what controls both? This controls the hazard, as we saw. The path was here. And this controls the turn signal. So when you have both, then you come to this conclusion. When you have the hazard lights, but you don't have the turn signal switch, then it's probably this. It's the turn signal switch. So again, I want to know what's going on. I put the hazard lights on. They're not coming on. What's next do? I try to put on the turn signal switch. If the turn signal switch goes on, that means this is getting 12 volts and this is working. Chances are the hazard switch itself is the problem. Right? What happens if I put the hazard lights on, but the turn signals don't go on that I just described? That means still this is working because the hazard lights are going on. But the turn signal switch is the problem. And this is what I wrote over here. Over here. 12 volts from the F1 to 12 volts to flashing unit, 12 volts to turn signal, to 12 volts to the bulbs. If you're going through F1 in run or start. If you're going to this one, hot at all times, you're going through F2. 12 volts through the flasher unit. And then you're going to come to the bulbs, actually over here. Over here. The turn signal is when you're in run or start. This is a block diagram that I wrote. Again, summarizing one more time summarizing. I come to my car. I don't even put the key on. I depress the hazard switch to put on the hazard lights. I'm on the shoulder. Right? Hazard lights don't come on. Not in the front, not in the rear. I'm thinking to myself, can it be the switch? Well, if it's the switch, that means it will, the combination flasher unit will work when the turn signals are on. That's your answer. If the turn signals come on, that means this is working. If the turn signals do not come on, the hazard lights do not come on again, this unit. Can it be the fuses? The fuse will be bad when it's hot at all times. When you come into the car and you don't put the key in the ignition. You don't put the key in the ignition and you try to put the hazard lights on, that doesn't go on. Or the left turn signal doesn't go on, that means that fuse could be the problem. If you're in run or start, also, besides the combination, you can have the fuse also. If I'm driving and I'm saying, oh, okay, let me make a left turn. That doesn't come on. Okay, let me make a right turn. Now that doesn't come on. Let me put the hazard switch on. Nothing is working. Could be the flasher unit also, but also it could be this fuse. So, not easy, but troubleshooting is never easy when it comes to analyzing schematics. Anyway, please subscribe to my channel on Joe Electronic Schematics from Auto, and the other one is Automotive Electronic Schematics from Joseph. And leave your comments. Your comments are always welcome. If you have any negative feedback, positive, and everything is welcome. Again, trying to improve the photography. And this is my first year doing this. I'm trying to find the groove. How to explain electronic schematics a little simplified. And no matter how you look at it, it has to be a little technical, like I said. It's not easy to try to teach it to beginners. That's why I made other videos about very small circuits to start off them on that level. Anyway, thanks for watching.